use that book. It's okay to read a small quotation. And I put a paper in there.
I guess you can go. It says you can go.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, that's good. My name is Ellen Greenwood, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. It is definitely my privilege to be the worship associate for our service this morning, and to welcome you to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church. Welcome to those of you who are here in person, and I get to see your smiling faces out there. That's a wonderful sight. And welcome to those of you who are joining us on YouTube, either right now in real time or at some time in the future. We are very happy to have you here with us this morning also. Westside is a congregation where our authentic selves, whoever we may be, are welcome. We welcome each person who comes here willing to join us in a respectful and caring community. And if you're here in person, we definitely invite you to stay with us after the service for coffee and conversation. Also at 12:30 today, some of us are participating in an anti-racism workshop, and that will commence at that time. So don't just dash out the door the minute the benediction is over. We do have a few announcements before we get started this morning. There also are announcements in your order of service and on the screen and scrolling on your screen at home also. First of all, This Saturday, the Arts and Crafts group is canceled, but they will resume in March. So don't come for arts and crafts on Saturday. However, on Sunday, do come for the auction. And I've been told several things to say about the auction. Surprisingly, we need people to sign up for the potluck. We need food. I know that this group can provide wonderful dishes for a potluck. And I have it on good authority that one of the desserts will be Shirley Vogel's famous chocolate cake, so you better get to that before I do. But that's only one cake. We've got to have more, so sign up. If you still have items you wish to donate or events, activities that you wish to donate, email Michelle Knifing or Ann Harvey with that information. Is that correct, Michelle? Okay. All right. Auction at erase that. Auction at westside.uuc.org. Okay. Very good. And I just, again, to kind of help you begin our service. Okay. At this time, our minister, Reverend Carol Bodeau, will invite our singing bowl to sing.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's really good to see you all here. If I haven't met you yet, even if I have met you yet, I'm still Reverend Carol Bodeau. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am privileged to serve here as minister. One of the most important things about this community is that we are here to show up for each other. We are here to support each other. We are here to encourage each other. We are here to kind of have each other's backs when things are rough. And it's been a rough week for many of us. So this morning, we are going to be talking about the beautiful lives and families of trans and non-binary people. For many of those families, it has been a difficult week, including my own family. So today, as our bowl sings, I want to invite you to call into your mind and heart any people, including yourself, whom you love, specific people that are non-gender conforming or are in some way treated by society in ways that are unjust simply for being their authentic selves. That can happen for a lot of reasons. Some of them are more at the surface of our society right now, but there are lots of ways that we dehumanize other people. So I invite you to call into your heart anyone who is facing that challenge or has faced that challenge. And as the bowl sounds, let us just hold in our love and care the knowledge that every one of those people, every one of us deserves to be recognized, to be loved, to be respected, and also to be celebrated.
Lori Allion will be lighting our chalice for us this morning, and also our community candles. The words for our chalice lighting come from Lee Kinvey, and I found these on the UUA's worship web. A true story. This chalice is for the living, the changing, the becoming. This chalice is for losing the script of your life, the chapters about who you are and other people's stories. This chalice is for the lost GPS that was supposed to show you how to get where they expected you to go. This chalice is for skipping the directions, coloring outside the lines, painting not by number, but by silence, by wild abandon, with a brush you made yourself, with light deep inside. Startling, vivid, a new voice that already knows you. Finally, a true story. And our community candles this morning, as Carol mentioned, we are especially holding in our hearts today all of those people who, for whatever reason, don't feel safe, don't feel comfortable, don't feel that they can be their authentic selves. And so we'll have a candle of concern for them. And then in a candle of celebration, I thought it was wonderful this week to see that the first trans woman has been nominated for an acting Oscar. Her name is Carla Sofia Gascon, and I don't know a lot about the movie that she is in, but she will be portraying a trans woman who I think is a Mexican drug lord. Yep. Sounds exciting, yeah. But it's the more visibility all kinds of people have, then the more accepting I feel like our society can be. So it's good news.
So in a minute, the choir is going to sing. You can help us as much as you know the words to this song. We're not putting them up. We're going to sing Cyndi Lauper's True Colors. So start to prepare yourself. Start getting in the mood, okay? And the reason we're going to sing that, and we're going to try to, over the next few months, learn it, all of us, try to learn some cool parts to it. This is our first venture into it. And the reason we want to sing this song more is because of the story behind it. So some of you know the iconic artist Cyndi Lauper, right? How many of us are old enough to have been a teenager in the time when Cyndi Lauper was singing this song? I was. The song was written the year I graduated from high school, 1984, and it continues to be not only a musical hit, but also a really important song in the LGBTQIA plus community. And that song was actually dedicated to a dear friend of hers who died of HIV-related complications. It is the inspiration for a foundation that she created called True Colors United. She co-founded that in 2008 with Lisa Barbaras, Johnny Podell, and Gregory Lewis. The organization True Colors United advocates for the long-term solution to the problem of homelessness for LGBTQIA plus youth. And so they do advocacy, they do action in the youth community, they provide technical assistance to young people in that community who are struggling to find a home, a place where they feel they belong and where they are safe. And that is something that this community wants to support. So I'm going to ask the brave choir to come up and stand in front. We're going to bravely do this without piano. We're going to do this a cappella. You can join in as much as you want. You will certainly know the chorus. But what really matters is that message of seeing people authentically.
Don't be discouraged, you'll realize it's hard to Don't be unhappy and remember when I saw you laughing. If this world makes you crazy and you've taken all you can bear, you call me up because you know I'll be there. And I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors are beautiful like a rainbow. If this world makes you crazy and you've taken all you can bear, you call me up because you know I'll be there, and I'll see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors are beautiful like a rainbow.
So you all need to start practicing because we're going to be doing that together. It is a core message in the song that we will see each other and that we will honor and treasure each other. The core message of that song is that we need to love and treasure the deep beauty that abides within each and every person. No matter how society judges the person, no matter how deeply sad or misunderstood or hurting or shunned we feel on the inside, it is possible and essential to be seen and loved. Now, Cyndi Lauper, throughout her career, has been a powerful advocate for the beauty and power of self-expression, particularly for people who have been misunderstood and oppressed by our society at large. And that message matters particularly right now in our current social climate. It is clear that one of the communities, many communities, but one of the many communities feeling that danger right now the most powerfully is the LGBTQIA plus community. So today we are siding with Cyndi Lauper and the larger movements for love and justice and validating and affirming the beauty of that whole rainbow-colored, amazing community. As a welcoming congregation, that's an official status. To be a welcoming congregation says that we have educated ourselves and we continue to do the work of learning more and more about how to be true supports for the LGBTQIA plus community. So that's an official designation that we have to do things to keep alive. As one of those congregations, we are actively committed at every level to this work. But even more, as ethical human beings, we're committed to honoring life and its myriad expressions. One of the greatest dangers of our time is the dehumanization of any person. People who are different than us, people we don't understand, people we've been told we shouldn't like. It seems clear to me that one of the primary ways we connect with each other is through our shared humanity. It is what makes it possible for us to bridge differences of opinion, to bridge differences of experience, to cross the divides that could so easily separate us. So, the Unitarian Universalist Association chose this book by Peggy Gillepsie. It's called Authentic Selves, Celebrating Trans and Non-Binary People and Their Families. This book was chosen by the UUA specifically in this moment to say we as a denomination stand behind this community. Now, she states explicitly in the introduction to the book that she expects it to be banned. She expects it to be banned. But that doesn't stop her from writing it, from us from reading it, and from us speaking about it. She is undeterred in part because of the stories of courage and transformation that the people she interviewed for this book, the people whose lives are directly affected by danger and threat to this community, by the stories they tell, by the lives they live. These stories are celebrations, right? That's the title, Celebrating Trans and Non-Binary People and Their Families. These are stories of people living lives of simple joy. They're also stories of people overcoming major obstacles. They're just human stories. And she says, I would love someday when we could tell these stories just because they're cool human stories, and not have to make all these distinctions, just to say these are awesome, cool human stories, not we have to tell them because they're in danger. They are stories of people in many cultural contexts and settings. They are stories of parents and kids, partners, friends. They are beautiful stories of wonderful human beings living lives of authenticity and courage and hope. And they are our stories. They are the stories of my family, of your families, of yourselves, your friends, your children, your parents, your grandchildren, our neighbors, the people we care about, whether we know them or don't know them very well. These are our stories. This is our community. We include in this community the inherent worth and dignity of all beings, making all life our family. So the Westside Book Club read this book this month and discussed it yesterday, right? Is that correct? So two of that group's participants, Ellen, our worship associate, and Lori Allian, are going to be talking a little bit about the book with you today, sharing some of their experiences. And Ellen's going to start by sharing a story from the book, and then Lori will be sharing with us as well. Okay, here you go.
Well, I have long considered myself an ally of the LGBTQIA community, and I'm pretty sure this stems from all my many years as a middle and high school library media specialist in Knox County, when I learned early on that the library was frequently a haven for young people who felt that they did not fit in anywhere else. Often these kids found solace and escape in books, but sometimes they just needed a safe place to be. Many of them were struggling with LGBTQIA issues, not all, but many, and all of them desperately needed the support of a non-judgmental adult. But as a cisgendered straight woman, I cannot ever fully understand what it's like to be trans. But I have come to understand, and I think this is especially through the work that we've done here at Westside, becoming a welcoming congregation and then maintaining that status, I have come to understand that I don't have to know all about a person in order to accept them and to love them. I don't know why they are how they are. However, it's always good, and it feels much better when you do have some understanding as well. And Authentic Selves, this book is, see, this is my librarian standpoint for you. This book helps so much. It gives us beautiful, beautiful portraits. In fact, it has beautiful photograph portraits that are worth it, just to look at the portraits of these folks. But it's a wonderful, wonderful book for in increasing our understanding. And I had a really hard time deciding which person to talk about a little bit, and feeling I didn't have a lot of time to tell a long, long story. But I've chosen Lewis Mitchell. Lewis, an African American, was born into a very religious family, assigned female at birth. And even from his earliest childhood, Lewis says that he would pray every night to God to make him wake up as a boy. When he hit puberty and this still hadn't happened, he was furious with God that his prayers were not being answered. Sometime in those early teenage years, he also began to be attracted to girls, and he knew about lesbians, so he thought, well, I must be a lesbian. He came out to his parents as a lesbian, and they had an extremely hard time with this. The preacher of their Baptist church, where they were very involved, declared that Lewis was going to hell. But he writes, and I don't know if I said this yet or not, but eventually Lewis becomes a minister, not Baptist, but a minister. And he writes, in my view, there was a fair amount of sexism, misogyny, and homophobia all wrapped up in their interpretation of biblical text. And yet, behind the scenes, there was a fair amount of queer activity going on. I couldn't figure out how they reconciled their Monday through Saturday life with their Sunday life. Lewis knew that he wasn't necessarily lesbian. That still didn't quite feel right, although he definitely liked girls. But he never even heard of transgender. Adolescence was difficult for him, and he became an alcoholic and an addict between the ages of 16 and 23, and he made several suicide attempts, at least in part because of, as he puts it, the gender stuff. He got sober when he was 23, and as he worked through the 12-step program, I believe it's step 3 that talks about a higher power. And in listening to his higher power, he decided that he was being called to the ministry. He didn't meet his first trans man until he was 35, and he realized, well, this is a possibility. Maybe this is me. And then he realized that transitioning would also be extremely difficult in many aspects for him, for his family, but also he was deeply entrenched in a lesbian community where he felt loved and respected, and he knew that he could lose some of those friends, other friends. He would lose his safety, and possibly he would lose his mother. Lewis came out to his mother in a letter because he was afraid to tell her in person. His father had passed on by this time. His mother wrote back saying, I may never accept your choices or understand them, but you are an adult and my son, and I love you. And that was all he needed to move forward, to know that he was still loved by his mother. The aspect of Lewis's story that I find particularly troubling concerns the intersection of transphobia and racism. He was living in San Francisco, liberal San Francisco, when he transitioned. He writes that he was pulled over literally 300% more after becoming a black man than he was when he was a black butch lesbian. Becoming a black man radically changed the way he could move in the world. As Lewis followed his path to ministry, he became a pastor at a United Church of Christ congregation in Western Massachusetts. He describes them as progressive, but mostly older, white, straight, cisgender. Sound familiar? He openly invited all their questions, and they accepted him fully as their minister. One of his very traditionally religious parishioners told him that someone transitioned at his workplace, and that person had been afraid to tell him because he was known as religious. But when the trans man finally told this parishioner, he said, "I support you. My pastor is a trans man, too." A woman in his congregation confided to Lewis that she was nervous when a large black guy had walked into the parking lot where she had parked that morning. And Lewis replied, "You know that in every parking lot in the country, I am that big black guy. Do I make you nervous?" Lewis says, in response to that, that he feels these days that his calling is to work with liberal white people. And I had one quotation concerning this intersection of race and transphobia that I wanted to read from Lewis's story. If you get a chance after the service, you really should come up and look through the beautiful illustrations in this book. It is just heartwarming. But Lewis says, throughout history, those of us who are in the gender kaleidoscope have always been created to be the ones who move around all the crossroads of life to apply clarity, correction, and healing. Gender fluid and gender nonconforming people have always been the people at the intersections of so many cultures around the world.
Hi. Never sure where I am with that. I'm going to start by confessing that I have not read the whole book, but as I think you've gotten the sense, you don't really need to. I just don't have a lot of time to read. I'm probably 2/3 of the way through it, but when I picked it up and read the first sentence, I was in love. It's such a wonderful book, and I would absolutely recommend it to everyone. Carol kind of talked about the celebration aspect of it, and that was certainly what jumped out at me, was how much joy these stories convey in the speaker's ability to find their true selves and be true to themselves and find supportive communities. Even after going through, all kinds of, as she said, abuse and alcoholism and suicide and attempts and everything else, once they really find their true selves and live in honor of that, it's a whole new world for them. So one of the things that almost all of them did, I noticed, is find ways to try to support other people going through those steps, those journeys. And of course, this book is a big way. And that was one of the things that, for me, was very, it strikes me personally because, and this is a story I've told before, so some of you know it. I was raised UU, very liberal community, all this. Never thought there was anything wrong with being gay. Never thought I was gay. Went through the UU Welcoming Congregation program when it was first beginning. Really tried to think, could I ever be attracted to a woman? Nope. I was sure, never. And then when I was 29, I met a woman who knocked me off my feet. And as within hours, literally hours after meeting her, after realizing how I felt about her, I thought, I've been feeling that way since I was in the junior high. I had never recognized it because I had never seen it. At least this is my explanation to myself, why it took me so long. You know, in society and the media, whatever, I had never seen pictures of that. When I saw movies, I identified with women. The women were falling in love with men. That's what I recognized. So it was having examples in the media of all different possibilities is such a wonderful thing. And I really feel like those stories in this book they're going to help all of us understand all of our communities, but they're really going to be lights in the dark for some people. Another thing that really resonated with me was the idea of the journey. And of course, we all know life is a journey in so many ways. But the self-understanding, it's kind of funny, I never really identified this. When I first met this woman, well, I had thought never, right? Never going to be interested in a woman. Then I met her, thought I'm never going to go out with a man again. Eventually, I fell in love with a man. And I thought, I should probably be careful about the word never, you know? But my point is that sometimes I've heard people talk about transitioning, people who are non-binary, they go back and forth between pronouns, they change their name, they change it again, you know, must mean they don't know what they're doing, they're experimenting, it's just, you know, it's not real, they're just confused. And as though change is not legitimate, you know, we all go through journeys of self-understanding. And I also had kind of been puzzled by that sort of changing and changing again. I never really made the connection. I did that too. You know, I've done it in many ways, but I certainly did it in terms of my sexuality. And the other thing people say is, you know, like they're making a choice. And I remember I had a friend who, when I came out, was very supportive. She absolutely was there for me 100%. And then she had little kids. And she said something along the lines of, you know, now I know, you know, now it's who you always were. And now you found your true self. And that's why it's okay. And I said, well, you know, I'm not invalidating anything, you know, and I was kind of trying to identify as bisexual. And she was like, so you're saying it's a choice you're making to date a woman? And I was like, well, kind of, yeah. And she was like, I don't want my kids to get the idea that's okay to make a choice like that. If it's you can't help it, that's one thing, but if you're making a choice, that's not okay. And I was like, well, then it's not okay, you know, to you. And it just really, I guess, again, in this book, it sort of drove home for me, why does it matter? You know, who we are, where we are at this moment is what matters. And you know, I think part of my never thing was about trying to anticipate, you know, what is the rest of my life going to be like? Well, that's a stupid question, because really, who knows that? And it doesn't matter. And one thing I loved about this book was the people who said, we shouldn't have labels. We shouldn't, you know, we should just be who we are. And that really also very much resonates with me for in all kinds of ways, really. So I would really highly recommend this book to anyone and everyone, because I think everyone will find something to identify in themselves, as well as understanding other people.
Thanks to both of you. I love Lewis's kaleidoscope image for identity, because it sort of matches what Lori is saying too, right? If you think about a kaleidoscope, there's certain components in there, right? Remember even the little tiny ones, right? There's certain components in there, the ones you got at the dollar store for a birthday party or whatever. There's little pebbles or whatever in there, and you turn it, and it changes. The image changes as you turn the dial. So this idea that identity should be monolithic instead of a constantly evolving, multifaceted, beautiful exploration, well, that just limits us all when we don't allow for the kaleidoscope effect, right? So, you know, in my own journey, I can tell this story about my older son who transitioned a couple years ago. And I was in California a few months ago. And I saw a friend in California that I hadn't seen in many years. And we were catching up, like, what's happening? What's going on? And they knew Shannon before transition. And I said, oh, you know, my son transitioned. And they were like, show me a picture. And I did. And my friend looked at the picture and said, I've never seen him look happy like that. And I was like, right. Even I needed to hear that, as big a supporter as I've been. I needed to hear somebody who hadn't seen my son in a few years look at that picture and say, wow, I have never seen him look that happy. And I thought, okay, that's important information. So in the recent revision of our UU bylaws, you all have heard me talk about this before, our statement of principles and purpose was revised to include some emphasis on accountability. These statements we used to say, we affirm these values. Now we say, we affirm these values and we are going to hold ourselves accountable to live up to these values. They explicitly ask us to hold ourselves and one another accountable in material ways. So I want to tell you some things that Westside specifically is doing to be accountable on this particular justice issue. In the last few weeks, our marketing team, aesthetics folks, the board, and the staff have been having some deep and important conversations that focus on one of the most simple human lived experiences, our bathrooms. Which, if you are a non-binary or trans person, or you love anyone who is, you know that bathrooms are a big freaking deal. Okay? Frankly, we have known for a long time that our bathrooms are not friendly or accessible to anyone who is gender kaleidoscope in any way. And we are finally ready to do something about that. So we are working on how to change that. We've had many people who are non-binary or trans or gender non-conforming express to us in the past, people who come for funerals, people who come for weddings, people who are part of the community say, your bathrooms are a hot mess for me. You got to do something about it. So we have decided that you are going to see some new signage pretty soon around our restrooms. Our restrooms are no longer going to say that you have to identify as female or male to use them. Okay? We are trying to figure out how to do this in the best possible way, but we will figure it out. We're starting with signage. Interestingly, I think the signs we've landed on, one sign has a picture of a toilet and a urinal, and the other one has a picture of a toilet and a urinal. Hasn't been used in forever. The only time that bathroom has been used in recent years is actually for someone who was here who needed an accessible low toilet that they could also take their caregiver in with them. Okay, so it's a whole nother layer of accessibility issues we've got, right? Because those two individuals did not identify as the same gender. The person who needed the restroom and the caregiver. So we've talked about possibly doing a campaign, a capital campaign at some point in the future to convert that restroom into a fully accessible restroom that would be available for anyone who wanted to use it for any kind of accessibility needs. So we are talking about this, and we are working on ways to make this possible for people in our community. This is one way we can start to actually live into the value of being a welcoming congregation. We are excited to celebrate anyone who wants to be part of this community in the kaleidoscope of life and beauty that is the human experience. So we're going to be talking more about that in the coming days. And we want to encourage all of you, read the book, talk to each other, explore the ways that we can all become more loving, caring, and actually living our justice values. And a big thanks to the book club for choosing that book. I'm really happy that they did that. So a few other notes on other areas of justice and generosity commitments for you all to know about. Just a reminder that you can make contributions to these kinds of ongoing values, our book club, the ways we run. We, of course, need money to run our institution. We no longer do a pass the plate activity during our service, which was actually a justice choice. We chose to stop passing the plate during the service because it's too much of a statement about your socioeconomic, it's a public pronouncement about your socioeconomic position on any given day, and we didn't think that was a very just or equitable or compassionate. Instead, we have a QR code. And there are boxes in the back of the room. One of the boxes in the back of the room is for our ongoing budget, and the other is for our special concern for each quarter. Our partner this quarter is specifically the bottom, which is our anti-racism partner. And I want to make a note about our anti-racism work. Our anti-racism workshop is ongoing, and everyone is welcome. It's not like you had to sign up. And I'm going to start because there are two things for the community that I want to share. The first is actually a community concern. Many of you know Alice Frost Deering and Virginia Deering, beloved members of this community. Alice had a medical emergency in the middle of the night last night related to some changes in her medications, and they're back from the hospital. I talked to them in the middle of the night when it was happening, and I talked to them again this morning. It was a rough night for them, and Virginia specifically said, please share with the community that we could really use your loving thoughts and support right now. So I'm going to light a candle for them. It was a really rough night for them. And I'm sure that they would be happy to have anybody reach out to check in with them, maybe after they've had some sleep. They were in the ER from about 12:30 till about 6:30 this morning. And then this is a more personal one. A good friend of my husband's, Tracy, a friend of ours died this last week. Suddenly, this candle is for Rachel Nicely, who died of a heart attack on Tuesday. She was only 44, and she left behind 3 kids, 16, 14, and 8. So it was a very sudden and unexpected death. So her family is very much in my heart right now.
I would like first to also honor Davis Schaffner, a friend of mine for more than 40 years, who passed away by a sudden fatal heart attack Friday night. A great shock to everyone and to me personally.
I also have not a friend, the husband of a friend who had been in poor health, but who also had a heart attack and died a couple of days ago. I'm actually going to his funeral this evening. And his wife is really struggling.
Well, I would like for Carol to light a candle for one of my very, very good friends for many, many years, Jenny, who passed away this week also. It was very sad to lose Jenny. It was not particularly sad to see her die because I think we lost her a few months ago. She's had issues primarily with dementia, and the last several months have just been terrible for her and everyone who knew her. So at least I'm very, very happy that she's at peace, but I do miss her.
Hey, I'm Mary Francis, and I'm going to stand up because my watch told me it's time to. But so I have a couple of requests. I just asked for you to keep my family in your hearts for this week, and also I'm going to move because I have the. Oh, are you asleep? Okay. Because he loves being singled out in front of everybody. My son Mozart got accepted into his top choice college, and he'll be there in the fall, so I'm really proud of him. And so tell him congratulations in person right now, or after church.
Congratulations to you. Congratulations, dear Mozart. Congratulations to you.
We also are really good at embarrassing people, just so you know.
This is medical, but it's a candle of joy. My longtime friend, Meta Gustafson, who tried to be the mother of the bride for my wedding back in March, but had such bad problems with cancer that she could not make it down here, has been declared cancer-free. And this is after lung cancer and a spot on a kidney. And got a clear scan. And this is I'm so glad for her, for me, for her, everybody who loves her, but also just an appreciation for the frequently maligned American medical system. Who did this? You know?
This is January, and in January, my system usually just kind of turns off. I don't plan it that way, and every year I think, oh, the winter's not going to bother me this year, it's okay. It's never okay. And I had the joy this year of being inspired to write a funny little song that Carol has kindly allowed us to sing next week about the groundhog.
That's all yet.
It was Yetta's inspiration for sure. And it was a lot of fun. So for those of you with the January blues, I encourage you to find a song you like and sing it, a happy song. Carpenters or whatever. All right.
If you want to hear the aforementioned groundhog song, which Lori has written for the choir, you will have to come next week to the auction.
We'll sing it over and over and over.
Yeah, I have Elizabeth Corbett online saying that she's thinking of her mother who died on December 30th and how much she always loved being in Florida with me and away from Connecticut in the winter. Elizabeth is in Florida right now. And actually now Curtis Dush has said she has a concern. She says, my granddaughter is in the military, and I worry for her with this new administration. With the confirmation of our new Secretary of Defense, she will be deployed in the Middle East soon.
I'm going to light one more candle. For any celebrations, or concerns in our hearts for the things that are too tender to name, things that we all hold. Let's just take a moment to breathe together and to remember the common humanity that we all share. Life is that constant journey of change. But one of the things that gives us the ability to make the next step, to take the next action, to face the next new horizon is knowing that we are surrounded by communities of love, care, concern, and support. So let us be grateful for that here. Okay, now, out of love, care, and concern for this community, we're not going to hold hands today for our benediction because it's cold and flu season. But instead, I came up with something even more kind of nefarious in a way. So I'm going to invite you all to, if you feel so inclined, to stand up. And stand so that you're not looking at me, but you're looking at each other. I don't care who. Make a little circle-ish, make a couple circles. Now, your goal here is not to look at someone you know. The goal is going to be look around the room, see if you can kind of, do this, do whatever happens. Whatever happens, happens. It's all good. We're adapting. It's a kaleidoscope. You can't predict the outcome. All right. Now, those of you who are at home, I invite you to try this if you've got someone else in your home or later in the day. So here's what I'm going to invite you to do. First, just look around. Look around. Look at people with whom you are sharing space. Many of these people are going to be familiar to you. Some of them are not. Now, the first thing I'm going to invite you to do is find someone you feel relatively comfortable with. Might be someone you've talked to. Might be someone you know well, a family member or something. Find someone you know well. Okay, this is where it gets hard. Look into their eyes. Don't move. I'm going to invite you to hold this longer than is comfortable. I invite you to, and not just look, but here's the deal, folks. I invite you to, all right, everybody wants to talk because you want to dodge it. I invite you to look into the humanity of the person you are witnessing. See their humanness. See their truth. And if you don't feel comfortable doing this with another person, close your eyes and do it for yourself. All right, now I'm going to make it even harder. Trade partners. Find someone you do not know at all. If the person you were looking at was someone you didn't know before, good on you. But now find someone you don't really know very well. Find someone you don't know very well. Take a minute to chatter and introduce yourself or whatever. Okay, who needs a partner? Yetta, Nathan. Or are you guys partners? Okay. Raise your hand if you're looking for a partner and you still need one. Judy. Okay, Cheryl and Judy. I mean, you know each other, but that's okay. Yetta, are you the Lone Ranger there? Then you got to do the eye closing thing. Okay, everybody listen up. All right, listen up. Shh. Okay, now, chatting is how we normally attempt to connect with another person. We use conversation to find common ground, to discuss things. Do the audacious, brave thing now of silently witnessing yourself or another person. And I'm going to just let us do this for a minute or so. Do it silently if you can. Just quietly. David. Breathing while observing the other person. Notice your own discomfort as you want to look away or walk away or squirm or say words. And now when you're ready, you can blink your eyes and everybody can turning towards the center. Just turn towards the center and look around the room. We so often don't bother to actually see one another. We don't actually hear one another. We run through our lives in a hurry, using artificial labels and prescriptive codes to decide whether we should connect with other people or not. But the human heart is seen in the human eye. So this week, let us all make the commitment to truly see those people who are in our lives, whether they are the family members we know well or the strangers we've never met before. Let us listen for the stories behind the surface words and see the truth that may not be immediately visible at first. Let's be courageous enough to live into our value of deeply honoring the inherent worth and dignity, not just the performed work or the assumed traits of other persons, but their authentic selves of each and every being. May it be so. Go into this day and into this week knowing you matter, you are treasured, and we celebrate you. Go in peace and go in passion.